Hello, YouTube family. God bless you all. Hope and pray all is well with you all. And I hope and pray God has done what he said he would do for you, through you, and around you. God is faithful. All right. I usually go live on Facebook and other platforms, but I'm trying to build my YouTube. So I'm going to be live here on YouTube. And we're talking about murder understanding or murdered understanding. This is something that causes a lot of people not to believe in God. This is something that causes a lot of people not to love the way that they need to love. This is something that causes family not to agree with most. This is something that causes a lot of people not to understand the power of love. This is something that we deal with on a daily basis, and a lot of people are not able to grasp the whole concept of doing it God's way. And so a lot of us, because we don't understand, we deny. A lot of us, because we don't understand, we will deny something. Instead of us appreciating it and saying that we don't understand it, we would say, oh, I don't believe in that, or I don't do that, or I'm not about to do this today, I'm not about to do this. And we can just learn from that experience and be better. Murder understanding or murder understanding is something that causes family generations to go through cycles and cycles of the same thing, and you not grasp anything, you not grow from it, you not build from it, you not know from it. And so you have to be in a position to where you can understand the situation before you say that you don't want to do things in the situation. And so one point that I want to bring up when talking about murder understanding or murdered understanding is commitment issues. A lot of times your commitment issues come from you're not understanding the whole ordeal. It's not understanding what you really need to do. You're not understanding how you really need to pray for a situation. And so when things don't go your way, you automatically blame God for those things happening the way that they happen. And so you have to be mindful of these things. The Bible declares in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, it declares that we should trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to thine own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him, and guess what he will do? He will direct our path. And so sometimes we're not getting our path directed is because we choose God last. Instead of first, we choose him last. And so it brings up commitment issues. It causes us not to commit the way that we need to commit. All right. So we have to be mindful of these things when we are understanding murdered understanding. And so we have a selfish mindset that comes to part when you are dealing with murder understanding. When you deal with murder understanding, you have God as a person that don't hear you. You have God as a person that don't understand you. You have God as a person that don't love you because of your murdered understanding. All right. So watch this. When you trust God with all thine heart, with your mind, with your heart, your soul, you understand that everybody have an opportunity to build in God. But a lot of times we don't want to build in God because mama didn't do what she needed to do, or big mama didn't do what she needed to do, or that my life didn't go the way that it needed to go. And so what it causes us is it causes us to error. Not only error, it causes us not to trust the way that we need to trust. So we begin to operate in an identity crisis, which causes us to have commitment issues. All right. So when you have commitment issues, it causes you to have a selfish mindset. All right. So when you have a selfish mindset, it produces exhausted emotions. All right. When you have exhausted emotions, you're not going to believe past what your mother did or your father did or your forefathers did. All right. So it causes us not to grow the way that we need to grow. All right. So we have to understand that when we come to understanding, we must trust God with all our heart. All right. And when we understand who he is and we understand how powerful he is, and you understand the works that we have to do, it helps us. It relieves us. It teaches us. It builds us. It shows us that, hey, look, listen, my father messed up, but I don't have to mess up. My family bloodline wasn't rich, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to be rich. All right. So we learn how to grow. All right. So the first point is we have commitment issues when it comes to murder understanding or murdered understanding. All right. Then you produce what we call a selfish mindset. All right. Your mindset is to the point to where if you're not doing it, then you don't want nobody else to do it. If you're not growing, then you don't want nobody else to grow. That's a very dark place to be. So when we trust God, what he does is he take what you don't believe, he take what you are hurting in, and he heals you. He delivers you from that spiritual soul tie that calls you not to believe the way that you need to believe. And what it does is it builds your character, it builds who you are, it builds your identity, it builds everything around you. And then when people see you and you say you are this person, or your last name is Perry, or your last name is William, and they say, oh, you're William from down the way. Well, you don't act like a William. Well, you don't act like a Perry. You don't act like a Smith. You don't act like this person. And so it lets people know that, hey, look, listen, my family have a history of doing these things, but I'm the generational curse breaker. I'm going to be the reason that these cycles are broken. I'm going to be the reason that my daughters and granddaughters and their children be able to operate in riches. I'm going to be the reason that my family be able to operate in a love that can not only help us, but a love that can build us. So we have to get out of that selfish mindset and believing that, hey, look, listen, I messed up this one time. So I got to grow. I got to grow. All right. So you know how to build in God, but we have to know how to live in God. A lot of people know how to build in God, but a lot of people don't know how to live in God. And so what it causes us is it causes us to error. It causes us not to grow the way that we need to grow. It causes us to doubt God instead of shouting God. It causes us to murder our blessings before the blessing even manifests. A lot of people, blessings are murdered spiritually before they even manifest, because you're telling God what your mother didn't do. You're telling God what your father didn't do. You're telling God how you didn't do this and how you didn't do that. Lord, I wasn't able to do these things. And so we have to be mindful in these last dark and evil days that we don't do things that will hurt our blessings, that we don't do things that will destroy the very characteristics of God, that we don't do things that will have us hindered in this thing called life. So we have to be mindful of these things. All right, so when God has instilled his appreciation in you, you're going to go through trials. You're going to go through errors. You're going to go through things you never thought you would go through. But you have to be mindful of who God is. You have to be mindful of what he means to you. All right, so just because the world don't believe doesn't mean that you don't have to believe. Just because God is a God that hears doesn't mean that he's not going to hear what you're saying in this hour. All right. So we have to be mindful of these things, because a lot of times we are not blessed because we less ourselves. We hurt ourselves because we have a lack of love. And a lot of times we're not blessed the way that we need to be blessed because we're not forgiving ourselves. All right, we want everybody around us to forgive us, but we won't grow the way that we need to grow. So it causes us to error. It causes us to have a mindset that's not faithful. It causes us to have a wisdom that is not from God. All right, so anytime your wisdom calls you to doubt a savior, a creator, God that's higher than any God, a God that's more compassionate and more lovable than any God, you have to check yourself and see, look, hey, look, listen, am I doing the wrong thing? Am I operating in the wrong spirit? Do I really trust what I inherited from my family bloodline? Is just the way that I need to be thinking about God? So we murder our blessings spiritually before we even be able to see manifestation. Before God even manifests things, we destroy them before we even get there. Because a lot of times we go off what somebody told us. All right. So sometimes it's good to get into a place where you can have a personal relationship with God versus a relation with God. A relation with God is your mother telling you about God, telling you about a Savior that can save, telling you about a God that can deliver, and you just hear of it. But when you have a relationship, you are entering into an experience that your mother never experienced, your father never experienced. And so it causes you to build. So you don't have time to think about suicidal thoughts. You don't have time to think about anxiety, because you're trusting God with all your heart and you're leaning not to your own understanding. In all your ways, you acknowledge him, and guess what he's doing? He's directing your path. All right. So a lot of times commitment issues come from a murdered understanding. A lot of times commitment issues come from a murdered understanding. A lot of time a selfish mindset comes from a murdered understanding. A lot of time poor communication skills come from a murdered understanding. When you murder yourself spiritually, you stop the flow of blessing that can operate in you. And so you have to be mindful of who God is, and you have to be mindful of how he operates and how he works. All right. So you have to be mindful of these things in these last dark and evil days. All right. So we have to learn that anywhere you're going, there is an adventure. Anywhere you're going, there is an adventure. There is a lane of things that you're going to go through that you have to learn how to grow through. All right. So a lot of times when you go through, you don't have the mindset to grow through. All right. When you go through, you don't have the mindset to grow through that idea. All right. So it causes you not to operate the way that you need to operate. All right. So it causes you to have commitment issues. It causes you to have a mindset issue. It causes you to have poor communication issues. All right. So a lot of people that are in marriages nowadays, or in relationship nowadays, are in a mindset that it didn't work for mama, it didn't work for Big Mama, it didn't work for Medea, it didn't work for my parents or forefathers, then it's not going to work for me. That's the greatest trick that the enemy causes you to learn. Like a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to go to church right now because I haven't gotten myself together. I need to get myself together a little bit more, and then I proceed into going to church. Well, that's a great trick from the enemy, because the devil knows that if you keep going the way that you're going to be stagnant, you're going to be broken, you're going to get worse than what you are, and you're not going to be able to build the way that you need to build so that you can have the understanding that you need to have in order for you to grow in God. And so this is what causes a lot of people to beat God up when things don't go their way. This is what causes people to destroy God with their mouth, because they don't understand. All right. So the greatest form of ignorance, what I've learned coming up through my grandfather, is people denying something that they don't understand. The greatest form of ignorance is people denying something they don't understand. So instead of you saying, oh, I don't understand it, or help me understand this, or help me grow into this, a lot of people will say, well, I don't believe in God, or I don't want to receive God, or God is this and God is that. Well, sometimes it isn't the flow of God. It's the flow of our understanding. It's the flow of our faith. All right. So faith coming by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So how can we hear God if we don't have the word? How can we hear God? How can we understand God if we don't have the word? So a lot of times we're not able to grow in because we don't want to know in. A lot of times we're not able to grow in because we don't want to know in. All right. So that causes us to error in this thing called life. All right. So I hope I'm not going too fast for you, but I want to try to get a great understanding of murder understanding, because a lot of people are dealing with this even today, even in this 2021 year. All right. People are going through trials and errors. You have somebody right in your neighborhood right now that has suicidal thoughts. You have somebody right in your family right now that have suicidal thoughts. You have somebody in your neighborhood right now that's about to give up. You have somebody when you pull up to the light. That's why I tell people, consider yourself diligently when you're riding down the road behind people, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they're up against. That person at the light that's texting their phone may be texting trying to get an extension on a bill. That person at the light texting on the phone may be trying to get somebody not to repo their car. That person on the phone may be going through foreclosure. That person on the phone may have lost a loved one. That person on the phone may have lost a child. All right. So when you blow, a lot of times they snap off that thing because they are angry and nobody's listening to them. All All right. So it's a lot of hurt that goes on in the world. A lot of people are broken. A lot of people are going through trials and errors. A lot of people are going through financial storms. A lot of people are going through healing storms where they can be healed, but they want to know that it's real. A lot of people can come out of situations, but a lot of people don't want to trust because they've been hurt and broken so many times. So many times they've been broken and hurt. And so it causes them not to trust the way that they need to trust. All right. So I'm going to give it about 5 more minutes and we're going to end this live. But I want you all to grow in this. If you all have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell so that you'll be notified when we come live on this YouTube channel. And so on this YouTube channel, I want you all to be able to learn that when you come on a live feed, that you're going to be different. That you're going to look at another way of understanding, that you're going to be able to trust God in your situation, and you're not going to cause this murdered understanding to live in your mind where you forget about God because somebody told you a lie about God and said that, well, God's supposed to be God. Why he ain't giving us this? And God's supposed to be God. Why he ain't giving that? If we know he's God, why do we doubt him? If we know he's God, why do we doubt him? So we cause a lot of issues in our life because we go off things that somebody else said. God can tell you that he's going to bless you beyond measures. But then somebody wrong can come up to you and tell you, hey, look, listen, it's not going to work. Something happened in my family. God didn't deliver. They had a sickness. They died. I don't believe in God. I had a brother and sister that lose their life. I don't believe in God. So you have to get into a position to say that God, for God I live and for God I die. On this year, in March, I lost my mother. I know that God, to be a healer, I know that he can be a healer, but there's a season that happens. And so a lot of times we get selfish when it comes to death, when it comes to loved one being sick, we get on the selfish mode. All right. So you don't know how that uncle is feeling. You don't know how that brother is feeling. You don't know how that mother is feeling. You don't know how that sister is feeling. You don't know what they're going through in their brain. You don't know what they're going through in their body. You don't know the anguish that they're going through in their body. And the first thing we say is, Lord, keep my mother. Lord, keep my daughter. Lord, keep my father. Lord, keep my auntie. Lord, keep my grandchild. Lord, keep this. All right. So what you're not understanding is, when God removes them from this place of peace, they have to go back into a place of pain. All right. Whereas if they was delivered from a thing, whereas if they had no worries on the thing, now they got to come back from a place of pain and go back into come from a place of pain and go into a place of peace and go into a place of pain. And it hurts us and it drains them. All right. So you don't know how that person is feeling. You don't know what that person is up against. And so the best thing is to ask God to give you the right mindset so that you can accept what you need to accept and you can let go what you need to let go. I hope and pray that you learned something from this small teaching. Grow from it. Don't allow yourself to talk yourself out of blessing. Don't allow yourself to talk yourself out of manifestation. Don't allow yourself to pull yourself away from blessings because of what somebody else did or somebody else experienced. Somebody else's experience is not your experience. So God have you in a position so that you can understand the mission. But if you have all these people in your ears, you're not going to understand the power that God can do through you and around you. And so we have to be mindful of who God is. We have to be mindful of how God works. We have to be mindful of how God operates. And so we learn these things. So I hope and pray that you learned something. God is faithful. He's grateful. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the little bell so that you can be notified when we upload a video or when we go live. God is a faithful God. He's a powerful God. He's a mighty God. He's a God of understanding. He's a God of restoration. He's a God of everything. And so we have to be mindful of God. Don't forget the key points. When you're going through a murdered understanding, you have commitment issues. You have a selfish mindset. You have poor communication skills. And so poor communication skill can cause you to lose everything that you have. It can cause you to lose a marriage. It can cause you to lose a relationship. It can cause you to lose everything. And so this is Dr. Robert L. Bailey Jr. Coming live and direct. I hope and pray that you learned something today. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in to this YouTube channel. Master Choice International Ministries loves you. Remember, when we say that we are praying for you, we are Praying for you, not Preying on your downfall. God bless you. If you desire prayer, place your name and states in the comment section, and we'll be praying for you. God bless you. Enjoy your outstanding weekend.